Hello and welcome to another episode of Be the Love to Awaken Our Souls. Thank you again so much for tuning in this week. I am Stacy Musial.
And I am Brenda Carey. We are your co-hosts and souls on the journey, and we are on a mission to raise the consciousness of humans and the planet, and we need your help. Please spread the word to your family and friends and join us every week. Consider becoming a Patreon supporter or a sponsor to help with the operating costs like editing and the many hours we spend creating these shows with quality guests and content. And if you have resonated with our mission, support us in a way that raises your vibration to love.
And if it feels safe for you, I'd like to begin by inviting you to take a moment and get centered with us. I'd like to invite you to take a beautiful cleansing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, releasing anything that is keeping you from being present. And take another deep breath in through your nose, breathing in calm, peaceful, loving energy, and breathing out anything you are ready to release in this now moment. And take one more breath in through your nose, breathing in light and love for yourself. And imagine breathing out that light and love and send it back to all of humanity, remembering that you always, always have your breath to come back to.
This conversation, we are taking a deep dive into all aspects of digestion and how we can raise our vibration, not only with physical gut health, which is very important. And if you are interested in more of the aspects of nutrition or the physical signs of gut health, what to eat or not to eat, we're not going to be going into that so much in this episode, but refer back to episode number 67. Stacy and I recorded that one a while back. It's called Raise Your Vibration Through Conscious Nutrition. And that will really give you a great basis for how to eat consciously. What we're going to really talk about today is digestion on the mental, emotional, and even spiritual dimensions. I think this is really important and not really talked about when we hear people talk about the microbiome. So this is a really personal topic to me because several years ago, I was diagnosed with a digestive autoimmune condition. It was actually many different types of digestive issues, and they kind of lumped it all into digestive autoimmune. And I did all the things that Western medicine had prescribed. I was on several elimination diets. I did all the physical gut health types of things. And unfortunately, Western medicine didn't serve me. And a lot of the elimination diets, a lot of the supplements, although very good supplements that I took, did not create sustainable, healthy gut health. So we're going to talk about the other aspects of digestion, like gut-brain connection, and especially the emotional side of eating, how we eat, things like that, that will give a little bit different light into this idea of how we digest and assimilate all things, not just food, but emotions and even our spiritual selves as well.
Hmm. I think this is such an important conversation because, we tend to put a lot of emphasis on healing the physical. And, you know, that is a big part, right? We have to
Sure.
take care of our physical body, changing our diets, eating healthy diets, and maybe even different foods, changing our foods, and to recognize, not all foods are created equal, and not all foods are gonna help, with certain things. So those elimination diets, even healthy foods, people can react to. So. And I apologize, I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm just getting over it. So my voice is a little scratchy, but um so you know, and that's such a big, it's such an important part. We have to eliminate those things and to recognize the emotional piece, right? The emotional piece is at least 80% of the gut healing and gut health. Because if you don't heal the emotional piece, those different diseases, and all diseases start and end in the gut, right? If we don't have a healthy gut, we're going to, have dis-ease in our body. And so it's so important to, start to work on the emotional piece, because if we don't get to the emotional piece, then those diseases, even if we might have healed them, they might come back because there's still the emotional component that is being recreated, because our cells in our body, we get a new body every 7 years, right? But if we're going to continue to recycle and, old cells and old cellular memories, we're going to keep getting the same cells. But if we work on the emotional piece, then we're going to heal that emotional energy, right? Because emotions are energy in motion. So we feel that energy, and that, a lot of times we feel that in the gut biome. So, and recognizing,
Absolutely.
yeah, that, there's such that big piece that where the gut and the brain are very much connected. There is no separation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was one of the areas when I was healing from my autoimmune condition. I did all the physical aspects, quote unquote, right, but what wasn't really being dealt with is oftentimes we don't realize that gut issues like leaky gut, any kind of autoimmune issue are related, if not sometimes caused by anxiety or depression. So when I remember while I was in the height of my digestive issues, someone asked me if I struggled with anxiety. And because I think I had a fairly consistent meditation practice and, relaxation practices of yoga, I didn't necessarily feel emotionally anxious, but my gut was telling me that I was worrying too much, I was stressed out too much. And so, although I wasn't, diagnosed with anxiety because I didn't necessarily feel it in the mind. Initially, I felt it in my gut, and it was like this knot sensation, sometimes like, the butterflies, nervous sensation. So when that was, brought to my awareness, I started to realize, oh, there's the connection. And I couldn't always tell which one started first. So for some people, it might feel more like the feeling of anxiety or depression. They feel that in the mind first, and then it translates into the gut. Or sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes it's at the same time. We're all unique in that way, but just to know that one definitely influences the other, so we can't treat them totally separate. There has to be a connection of both.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, for the longest time, I walked around, with my head unattached to my body.
I think we all have.
Yeah. And there wasn't a connection, right? And then when I started to really tune into my body, I recognized that, oh, I have these sensations, and sometimes I might feel it in my throat. Sometimes I might feel it in my, you know, my my left eye. But a lot of times it would be in my stomach, my gut, my
Mhm.
solar plexus, right? Because that is where we tend to store, and that's where, we tend to swallow emotions and,
Absolutely.
quote, swallow, or we stuff, right? And so when we don't pay attention to how something is making us feel in the moment, and we say, oh, I'll just deal with that later, or I'm not going to worry about that now, or that's not a big deal, right? And not say anything in the moment,
Hmm.
we tend to swallow those emotions, and they get stored in the cells, and you might feel like that lump in your throat, right? Or that, that anxious feeling in your gut. And I too, at one point in my life, had been diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, and that was a gut related,
But it
I
was
mean,
your thyroid, right?
well, that was my thyroid, but
But still related to the gut. I mean, how we digest.
well, the gut biome, when I healed my gut, and I worked on the emotional piece and the physical piece. I was doing all kinds of things to heal my body. But that's when my gut, stopped reacting, and because it was creating my thyroid to
Mm,
become overactive and underactive. So there was like this. But when I healed my gut, that's when the thyroid issues went away. So, and that was a lot of work. It was, but it was recognizing that there was a big emotional component there, and a lot of
absolutely.
that was, doing the relaxation, but it was also what emotions have I been stuffing my whole life, and
Yeah.
going into that and feeling that, and then also changing my patterns of not just, letting things slide when something was bothering me, even, when somebody would say something, is this how should I respond to this? Is this something I just need to feel in the moment, or something I need to say?
I love that you bring up the stuffing or swallowing feelings. I identify with like I would stomach not only my emotions, but being highly empathic, other people's emotions. And
Mm-hmm.
there was a time when I couldn't differentiate between the two. So I would literally just take it all in and stomach it down, didn't know sometimes even if it was mine or not, and when it would just sit there and stew and be stagnant. And if that doesn't affect someone's gut, and then I wasn't breathing deep enough, so super shallow breather, and it would just sit there, and I could just, feel the tensity, like there was a knot. And this kind of gut pulling sensation. And
Mm-hmm.
that all has to do with, how empowered do we feel when we're just shoving down all these emotions, ours or other people's emotions, and we're taking them on that isn't meant for us to take on.
Mm-hmm.
So I did slowly have to learn to voice, speak my truth, ask for what I needed if I really needed help, and to be really conscious of that pattern. Like, am I taking this on? And do I need to take on all these emotions?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really important point when it comes to like emotional eating. A lot of people struggle with emotional eating. And there's that connection again in how I teach in the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda. Digestion is referred to this word called Agni, but it doesn't mean just like physical digesting food. It is a very holistic perspective. It is the fire element. So, like your mental fire and focus, how empowered you feel, like that solar plexus, bright yellow, shiny sun. Like, how empowered are my actions day to day? And what am I passionate about? And what do I really crave? Because here's the connection. I think oftentimes people will substitute their favorite food, sweet, salty, alcohol, whatever it might be, in lieu of really figuring out like what do I crave? What am I really hungry for, rather than just thinking like I'm going to open the refrigerator and find it. It takes just a commitment to just deep emotional inner work.
Absolutely. I absolutely love that question. What am I hungry for? And oftentimes, when we go to reach for food and we're not really hungry, it's so important to ask why, you know, or like what am I really hungry for? Why am I reaching for this food? Because, maybe it's personal connection. Maybe it's connection with a loved one that you really need. And, or maybe it's connection with yourself. Like, how are you connecting with yourself and what you need? You know, um, how are you connecting with your thoughts, your feelings? Is that, another way you're, yeah, stuffing that down? Are you needing to figure out, maybe there's a sense of purpose that you've been trying to figure out what you want, or, it's many different things that we could be craving. And it's not, always that food. So recognize, like, asking yourself that question is so powerful. And, we can, begin to figure out and realize, emotional eating, we can have a sense of control over that when we really tune into the consciousness of it, right? And so, Um, so I think that it's really important to just begin to just be conscious of that and ask those deeper questions when the emotional eating, when you, if you're in a pattern of emotional eating, or if you have regular cravings, and sometimes it can be a physical, you know, thing, and so if it's salt cravings, sometimes minerals are an important piece to add into that, and if it's sugar, sometimes it's, maybe your body is over acid, right? And so then, you want to maybe do some more alkaline balancing, or maybe even like sweeter vegetables, So once you get the physical piece out of the way, really check in with that emotional piece, because we're not necessarily we're not meant to eat all the time. Our bodies don't need food 100%, and it's important to give our bodies and our digestive tract a break. And so when we give that a break, then we can actually hear what it's trying to say. Because if we're,
Mm.
always putting food into it, we shove down the voice, right? The voice of our deepest core, center of what we want. And those, that's where that feeling, those gut feelings come from, right? We can really tune in to our our gut and listen to the messages it has, but we can't do that if we're always putting food into it. And so
Yeah.
but it's
I think
important to really give it space to be heard.
I was going to say give it space. Yeah, that's exactly what came up for me because in our crowded culture of too much information and in first world countries we have more food. We don't have to hunt and gather, like we used to. So we have so much choice, which is truly a blessing. And we don't need to take on the consumeristic mentality of needing more, more, more. Fasting, which you're talking about rest and digest, we are meant to have periods of rest. And part of that is also our digestion, also mental rest. We don't always need to be consuming information either. Doing a mental detox and, just not listening or reading something for a while can be so healing emotionally as well, because then we do start to really deeply listen to those messages. And as you know, fasting has been in spiritual traditions for thousands of years. And I do think we can raise our vibration, our consciousness when we're not so consumed with digesting food. That there is that stillness and silence, and our digestion gets a break. And thus, we also get a mental and emotional break as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's so important that we really, take that time for ourselves. And, with that, we have three tips that we'd like to offer you for a healthy emotional microbiome. And so, one of those is going to be the mindful eating, right? And really connecting with the food that we're eating, right? And so when you're eating, take some time to, turn off the TV and, sit if you're, by yourself, sit, in a place that feels really comfortable, or having a family dinner, but recognizing that, to have this space just for yourself and being able to enjoy the food, it's in all its senses, like really savor the flavor of it. What does it taste like, and chew every bite, methodically until until you can't chew it anymore, and really enjoy that. What does it smell like? What does it feel like? And just be with that. And I think that really is really an important piece. And another thing, along with that piece is, giving it a blessing, before you eat. Like, I like to put my hands around my plate of food and give it an energetic boost, and just like energetically align with my body and being with that, because then it's going to absorb in each of my cells in the way it's meant to be, as I am connecting with that in the utmost gratitude and gratefulness.
I love that. Yeah, I truly believe that how we eat is even more important than what we eat. Not that it gives us a free pass to eat, fast food, junk food, but just, yeah, being with and sending those blessings. I always say, especially if I go to questionable restaurants, if I'm stuck somewhere, I'm like, I bless my food
Mm-hmm.
because we don't know who's preparing it and their
Yeah.
emotional state.
Yeah.
And we are energetic beings and we absorb and take in the energy of food and others. So yes, absolutely. Mindful eating is key. The second tip to a healthy emotional microbiome is really, we mentioned connecting to your solar plexus. So at your navel center, this is one of the chakras in yoga, this vortices or wheels of energy. And when we breathe deep into this area, we expand and light up this energy. It is meant to be a yellow color like the bright sun and really tune into those messages there. Most of us, we don't breathe deep enough, especially before we eat or if we're in a hurry and shoving food in really quickly. It's slowing down, like we mentioned, mindful eating, and then really connecting and assimilating that food. That's what really that solar plexus is meant to do, is to assimilate all the energy of yes, the actual nutrition of the food, but then also all of the emotions and things that we also take in as we are eating. And so that's a great way. Remember to breathe deep, tune into those messages of the solar plexus.
And
And
to
then,
recognize though too that, our bodies are always speaking with us. And so,
absolutely.
if you get quiet enough, you will hear those messages coming through.
Yeah.
And so, and the third tip for you is really, tuning into the feeling of empowerment. So this is your power center. And
Yes.
so, what does empowered feel like to you in your body? When's the last time you felt empowerment? Remember that time. And, even if it was a long time ago or maybe it was yesterday, but feel that. Connect with that memory and bring that back into your solar plexus and allow that feeling to grow and just be with that because you want that feeling to grow strong within that center. And you might even imagine a golden yellow light coming in through the top of your head and into that. And this is already a yellow center. I like to bring in that light and it cleanses that space and then allows it to grow even brighter and brighter yellow in that feeling of empowerment and just being with that and allow that just to shine out and shine within. And that is, the where you can move forward from. So being with that and allow yourself to embody that feeling.
I love that. Yeah. So quick recap, 3 tips to a healthy emotional microbiome. First one, mindful eating with blessings and gratitude. Second one, connect to your solar plexus, really breathe deep and tune into the messages that are there. And then bringing in feelings of empowerment, however you'd like to do that. I also like to do that with physical movement of my body and just feeling the strength within my body as well. So take these to heart. So your next meal, whenever it arrives, maybe it's right now as you're listening to this podcast, but really tune in to your emotional microbiome. And we would love to hear from you as our listeners. How is that going for you? And what are areas that you feel like where you could grow personally and spiritually? Let us know. And thank you for listening to Be the Love podcast. If you have enjoyed listening to our show, please share the love by sharing it with your family and friends, giving us a 5-star written review on iTunes and Spotify, or liking us on Facebook. I'm Brenda Carey, and as a holistic healer, I offer coaching and online programs to guide people in their sacred path to vibrant health. My website is sacredpathyoga and reiki.com.
And I'm Stacy Musial. I'm a psychotherapist specializing in whole person, deep soul healing. You can find out more about my work, my book, and programs at awakenyouремpoweredsoul.com. Please consider supporting our mission to awaken our souls with a monthly donation that really helps us with the operating costs of this podcast so we can continue to spread the love. To contribute, visit our Patreon website at patreon.com/Be the Love Podcast. And stay tuned for more episodes being released on Mondays at 5:55 a.m. Mountain Time.